So Donald Trump and Elon Musk are now interfering with Europe even more. Apparently, they're the new enemy. These are the headlines from Wall Street Journal. U.S. flips history by casting Europe, not Russia, as villain in new security policy. And as I was looking through everything today, it just feels like more and more that both Trump and Musk are stooges to Putin. And you can't avoid it, because I'll show you guys what we're looking at today. It's embarrassing, it's sick, and this is where we're at. And this is why you have to talk about it. It's important topics. I want to hear from people in Europe. What do you think about this stuff? Top U.S. official says EU regulation, quote, undermines NATO ties. And Trump and Musk, they always talk about these things. They hate rules. They hate the law. They hate consumer protections the most. So, for example, let's say America wants to send a bunch of hormone-filled beef and, old food to Europe, and Europe's like, hey, we got higher food qualities over here. We got higher standards. We're not taking it. Or what if Elon Musk wants to send a bunch of Cybertrucks that are big, heavy, dangerous, and he's like, hey, they're just not going to fit on our roads. It doesn't meet our regulations. You can't do false advertising over here. And like that's why you have rules. You want protections in place so that you don't have people unhealthy or people injured for no reason other than for pursuit of American profits and the bottom line. And it all depends. I always frame it in consumer protection. Elon Musk and Donald Trump will try to frame it in terms of free speech. Oh, you're just trying to regulate our speech. And I guess in this case, speech is selling you dangerous products. I guess so. So then what they're going to do is they're going to try to replace your leaders in Europe, right? Watch out, Europe. Trump is coming for your elections next. And they'll start tweeting out nonsense. They'll try to platform whatever far-right individuals. That's what Musk has been doing. And this whole thing is all about profits for Musk and Trump. So then they'll theoretically try to put up Trump hotels and golf courses everywhere throughout Europe. I wouldn't be shocked if that's their end game here. Elon Musk, this is what he says today. The EU should be abolished and sovereignty returned to individual countries so that governments can better represent their people. So basically, from a Musk and Trump point of view, they want to weaken Europe because then you'll have less bargaining chips, less bargaining power if you basically bargain individually. It's kind of like the one thing I was thinking about it is it's like how both Elon Musk and Donald Trump hate worker unions. This is a good example because, say, workers, if you're individually, asking your boss for a raise, you have much less power than if you collectively ask, right? There's a reason why countries form alliances and unions to have more power because you're collectively stronger together. And yes, I want to hear from people in Europe. I'm sure there's some issues with the EU that, could be worked out. I'm not going to say like everything's perfect forever. But this idea, though, of a weaker EU and a weaker Europe clearly would benefit Putin and Russia. I mean, or the idea of U.S. pulling out NATO and, screw NATO, that would clearly benefit Russia and Putin. So it's kind of obvious what's going on here. To me, it is, at least, and that's why I'm showing you guys news. This is Financial Times. They say U.S. national security strategy calls for, quote, cultivating resistance in Europe. Okay. Policy document blasts traditional allies while failing to criticize Russia. Here's a summary here. It views China almost entirely through an economic lens, okay, is silent on the Russian threat, and spends most of its energy going after America's European allies. Okay. The 33-page strategy said, and, quote, expeditious cessation of hostilities is essential to, quote, stabilize European economies, prevent unintended escalation or expansion of the war, and reestablish strategic stability with Russia. It highlights the ideological gulf that has opened up between Washington and its traditional allies, saying that economic decline in Europe is, quote, eclipsed by the real and more stark prospect of civilization erasure. So, and this fits with Elon Musk's point of view. I'll just be frank, like Elon Musk just goes on and on about, white people are going to disappear, that kind of stuff. And, and then you open a whole can of worms and I'll just say this, there's a bunch of like neo type people out there, and you kind of know the neo ones. We'll call it the neo mustache people. You guys know. It's for real. And it's sick. It's, I can go on about that, but I just show you what's going on. The U.S. ambassador to EU then is going to complain about regulations. So I'll read it. It says, today's excessive 120 million fine is a result of EU regulatory overreach targeting American innovation. And the supposed innovation is basically Elon Musk spreading his misinformation. That's basically what it boils down to. The Trump administration has been clear. We oppose censorship. And so again, I want to make sure it's clear. The Trump people say, spreading misinformation or supporting far-right candidates, spreading lies. That's all free speech, right? And they'll say, you're hurting censorship if you stop that stuff, right? We'll challenge burdensome regulations that target U.S. companies abroad. So, for example, say in EU or various places, do you want big tech companies to sell your data or do a bunch of things that you don't want to do with your data? Just for example, every country is going to have different views on that, or every country will have different views on what about children and the internet, these kind of things. And there's any number of things we could talk about, financial regulations, et cetera. And so, but point being, Trump and Musk and all those people, they don't want any regulations and they just want companies to run everything and you can buy off anything, right? So here's Brendan Carr. He says, Franklin the Turtle cuts regulations. And Musk has been tweeting up on and on and on about how much he doesn't like Europe and the EU and stuff like that. I can just show you. It's just over and over. It is so whacked out, our news. And why does Elon Musk and Trump matter? Because they actually shape public opinion of their cult followers. So for example, this is our news. Opening Pandora's box. What happens if the U.S. attacks Venezuela? I mean, this to even have this under discussion is pretty ridiculous. Like, is the average American sitting around thinking, oh, wow, we got to attack Venezuela? That's just like my priority in life. And sadly for Republicans, some of these people, and this is the New York Times, they went out and they asked 6 Republicans, what are your point of view on the boat strikes around Venezuela? And I'm going to go through their responses, but I want you to understand, like, what's the right way to say it? You could use the word gullible. You could use simple-minded. I mean, you can use easily manipulated, however you want to phrase it, call this. It's sick, and it's sad. And it shows you the importance of good leadership, and also shows you, unfortunately, the moral decay in the USA. So, for example, these are Republican responses here. One person says, I'm not losing any sleep over 2 people clinging to the boat, okay? And what we're talking about is the U.S. Navy is shooting rockets at these small motorboats effectively. Boat gets hit, it's on fire. I've seen a couple reports now that I guess the 2 survivors, there's 11 on board. There were 2 survivors. I guess they were with the stranded boat. I think it was capsized. They said they were trying to flip the boat over. And they were even waving, I guess, presumably for help as Americans flew over. And I guess they were in the water for like an hour, and then we decided to shoot it again. So the idea that these people are somehow dangerous when they're literally stranded, and I guess this person's like, okay, I'm not losing any sleep over it. And we don't know who these people are. We don't know what is on the boat. We don't, because they destroy evidence and they leave no survivors. It just doesn't make us look good. Here's another one. I'm not in favor of somebody shooting people who are in a deep wreckage. It looks very humane. Okay, so that's one person. Another person says, if you're caught up in something that's very detrimental to society, I think that you should die. And I guess she's smiling by her flowers while she says that. I want to understand, though, is because, think of it this way. What if the things that Trump tell you and Musk tell you are lies, which happens quite a bit? How does that affect your point of view? And so for these kind of cult members, they don't think in that way. Like, honestly, question things. And that's why, for me, we don't know who these people are, and we don't have any evidence because, again, no survivors, no evidence. They blow everything up. That's why this whole thing is sick. And so some people go along with it, some people don't. So here's another Republican. Says, from what I understand, this is absolutely a war crime, okay? Another person says, I don't think we should be feeling much sympathy, right? So you're getting some people go along with it, some people not. Another one, if we take them to the courts, we're going to have to pay for that and support them in prison. That's what another person says. So I guess the solution is just to erase everyone. And I want to show you something here. This actually weakens Trump and Musk's case quite a bit. This is actually on Fox News. So sometimes Fox News will tell you the truth on stuff, but it gets buried. It's not a big story. But look at this. December 5th, 2025. Coast Guard helicopter sniper takes out narco boat engines in stunning exclusive video. So they actually tell you the truth. We have the ability just to shoot their engines. We don't have to use a rocket, like a $2 million rocket, how much these things cost to blow up a boat. We could just shoot the engines. Like a couple bullets is much, much cheaper than rockets. And I just want you to think about this. Why don't you have healthcare in USA for everyone, right? Why don't you have good education for everyone? Why don't you have a lot of things like public support, invest in your people? Why do you spend millions to shoot boats when you could just shoot a bullet at it, which would be much, much cheaper, right? And then you could say, hey, we want, you're not just destroying all evidence, leaving no survivors. You shoot out the engine, figure out who's on these things, show us why you're doing said things, right? So this is literally a Fox story. Coast Guard helicopter sniper takes out narco boat engine in stunning exclusive video. And then they board the boat and they can show you everything that there's there. And so it completely weakens their argument of like, oh, we have to, destroy these boats like really far from USA as well. I don't even think these boats have enough fuel to get to the US from Venezuela. It's like these small boats, like they're out in the middle of the ocean. It's so nuts. And then what's interesting about this stuff also, when you look at Elon Musk and his, sycophants, this Doge designer person, this is what they write. I just want you to think about it. Brazil fined X, yet X refused to censor users. Australia fined X, yet X refused to censor users. Canada fined X, yet X refused to censor users. Now EU is trying to try it too. X will once again stand up for your right for free speech. X keeps choosing free speech over control. Okay. And so the way I read this is like, so they actually have rules and regulations in Brazil, Australia, Canada, and EU. That's great. They want to protect people. And then I just keep seeing, okay, Elon Musk and his bots paid for by who knows who, right? And that's part of the transparency. So for example, if suddenly on Elon Musk's platform, if they start promoting some far right conspiracy theory or whatever, and it turns out the money's coming from a particular entity, wouldn't you want to know about that? I mean, you wants to know, and they'll say, oh, you're attacking free speech. Like they always frame it in some, basically for simple-minded people who fall for this stuff. I'll just be frank with you guys. And here's a good example of a misinformation. So this is Elon Musk. He writes, cool. Okay, and look at the picture. What do you see in the picture? And just simple question. Is that picture real or not? Simple question. Is that picture real or not? Now, if you're an idiot and you never check anything and you just think, oh, well, everything Elon Musk says is awesome, then you just kind of go fast. And I'm sure you're looking on your phone, you're having your lunch at work or whatever, right? And you have to work overtime because you don't have any money. There's no education, no healthcare to support you, right? Remember, we're shooting missiles and things at small boats when we could just use bullets. But, who cares about that stuff, those details, right? All you care about is I just got to get more overtime. And I'm being mean here, but I just want to tell you that when people like Musk and Trump don't care about you, then you actually don't even have enough time to work out this stuff, right? And I understand why people fall for it. Like, I really understand. I get it, and so that's why I try not to be too mean, because people are getting manipulated by the system and they don't see it. Basically, this is a fake image, okay? I want to make it really clear, 100% clear. This is not real. There's no robot working with someone in a hospital to make you healthy, right? And so what this is that they're trying to portray a future where I guess we're replacing nurses or doctors with robots, and that's what Musk keeps promoting, and therefore we have to buy his robots. It's stupid, right? That's their plan there. They literally show it to you and they fool people that they already have the technology. Now, not everyone goes along with the Trump and Musk stuff. This is New York Times today. Basically, Trump's approval rating is going down. It's at 42%. Now, this is a little bit, and this is why you have to go to the details of stuff. It's a little bit, what I would say, skewed, because these days a lot of right-wing polls are kind of stacking the numbers. So I would say, generally speaking, just look at the major polls. He's probably closer to mid-30s. I think that's more accurate. And then if you want to look at some other polls among young people, CNN saying basically he's sinking down, and that's coming from a CBS YouGov poll, basically negative 52 points, 56 points negative to the downside. The problem is, and it's so hard, guys, you realize it's how stressful it is to do YouTube video and try to explain to people, because in the USA, and it's not just a problem in the USA, you could argue it's many places around the world. Today we're talking about brain rot. Is brain rot real? Researchers warn of emergency risks tied to short form video. And I'll just be frank, I mentioned it several times on the channel, and I'll try to make it really clear, and I'll speak really slow, because sometimes literally I saw in comments people misunderstood. On YouTube, for any person who makes videos on YouTube, there's a little section that says analytics, and you can actually see which channels that your audience watches. So I know exactly what you are watching, okay? I'm gonna make that clear. I can see it. And I actually know the tactics that many channels use, and I know exactly what all the channels look like, who the people on there, and I'll say they all look the same. I'll leave it at that. People don't like it if I tell you the truth, but it is the truth. And I also know that in this day and age, you have to do this kind of stuff. Beep, 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 beep. And if you don't do that, then people don't pay attention. It's a real problem. It's a serious problem. And so it's a combination of people under stress, under pressure, whatever. Right? You got to make sure people are listening. I know I'm being a little bit mean today, but it's frustrating because we don't want to talk about serious issues. People are like, oh, no, you got to talk about the sex scandal. Oh, no, you got to talk about people getting divorced. Oh, no, I want to see, Trump's hand again or whatever. It's like what do you do in this environment, So all I can say is I know there's people out there who do want to know the truth and have a real conversation about this stuff. And yeah, we can make jokes and stuff like that, but that's not like the point of this stuff. But if you want to be successful in this environment, yeah, you have to put out stuff that's very short, very quick, very fast, and you have to design it for people who want yeah, and that's where we're at. For example, this is the story on Fox News. Grocery chain goes viral with addictive butter dipped ice cream cones sparking divided reaction. So, the average American, that's what they watch. They're watching, oh my God, look at this ice cream with butter on it. Oh, look at all the sugar, blah, blah, blah. And so the Trump and Musk world, they control everything. The oligarchs control everything, same as something like Russia. And for the regular people, just give them a bunch of sugary food so they can't concentrate everything, right? The rich people are going to eat all the healthy food, but the costs are going to be enormous. And so then everyone else is regulated to, okay, ice cream and, fast food or whatever. And then if you call them out of their nonsense, so there's like, oh, you press, you reporters, you just all a bunch of liars. it's like, and so it's hard in this environment. And I just say that all the time, like the real solution is education so people can see through the lies. Now, not everyone falls for this stuff, but it is getting worse, and it's a combination of several factors, right? Work, education, environment, food. And if you live in USA and you haven't traveled that much, especially if you live in like the small USA towns, you don't realize like that you're being poisoned every day in multiple ways. And it's sad to see. I just try my best and tell you guys the truth on this stuff. So that's my thoughts. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.